Well, we're in the garage today rather than outside working on the car, and that's because the weather has been looking like this for the past week. So today I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different, and we're going to be taking a look at my Husky Toolbox here and why I highly recommend it, whether you're buying it just for your home or you're starting out as a tech. Now, to understand why I bought this rather than something like a Snap-on box, we're going to need a bit of backstory. So a little over a year ago is when I started working as a Mazda technician. When I started working there, I really didn't have that many tools. In fact, the only tools I had was this box here, which you could go down to your AutoZone or your Advanced Auto Parts and pick right off the shelf. It featured things like ratchets, extensions, Allen keys, a screwdriver with bits, and wrenches. The rest of the tools I actually ended up borrowing from another tech while I was there, and I had to use them in the meantime until I was able to source my own tools. And so I started buying things like impacts and a drill, and some more basic stuff like an oil filter wrench, a tire tread depth gauge, a flashlight, just really stuff to be used for oil changes and overall general inspections of the car. It wasn't until actually another month had passed when I started looking in the boxes for myself, and it just so happened that the Snap-on truck came around every week, so he ended up telling me about their toolbox truck. And this toolbox truck comes around once a year, featuring all their new boxes and options and features that they have. So when this truck finally came around, me and my coworkers stepped out and we stepped onto the truck just to see what they had to offer and what the price ranges were. Now, I gotta admit, stepping onto this truck, I was actually really impressed with these boxes and the quality they were produced in. And that's probably why the prices on these are so high, and that's really what stopped me in my track. Now, when this truck came around, I was still pretty inexperienced about what I was buying. I didn't know if I wanted something big. I didn't know if I wanted something small like a rolling cart. I was really lost in this matter. So the Snap-on guys pointed me towards something. Now, on the right side, we have my toolbox, and on the left side, we have Snap-on's rolling cart. Now, this rolling cart isn't the exact one I was offered. The one I was offered was actually a little bit smaller, but it's the best visual representation we have to the one I was looking at. Now, this Snap-on rolling cart offers 6 drawers. You're able to lock it up at the end of the day. We have gas struts up at the top, an electrical outlet inside, and you're able to add panels later on, as well as 4 caster wheels down the bottom, and 2 of them which can be locked. They also have their lock and roll system, which prevents the drawers from drifting open after use over time. Now, looking over on the right side with the Husky Toolbox, we have 15 drawers with mats in each of them. Up on the top, we have a magnetic strip going across the back. We have 2 electrical strips on either side, featuring 6 outlets on each, and 2 USB ports on each side as well. Up a little bit further, we also have gas struts and an LED light bar up at the top. Now, looking down, we have 4 caster wheels, 2 of which can be locked, and we have 3 different spots for keys. So you can probably see just how much more we're being offered with the Husky Toolbox over the rolling cart. And for the price point, there is a huge difference here. This big toolbox is $1,200, whereas this smaller rolling cart is $2,280. And even just looking at these now, I know which one I'd pick right away. So to me, this was an absolute no-brainer on which the better box was. I then gave my counterpoints to everything they were trying to sell me on with the rolling cart, and it could have just been me at the moment, but honestly, they seemed annoyed that I went and destroyed their entire sales pitch with a better box that cost less. With that, I thanked them for their time and walked off the truck, and a week later, I bought what you're looking at now. So with that backstory out of the way, let's get hands-on with this box and take a look at its features a bit closer, along with the tools that I currently have in it. So if we go ahead and open up our box here, you can see we are greeted to some nice spacious room sitting right up top. And on the back wall here, you can see our magnetic strip where I have a couple things sitting. Now over on the left side is where we have our 6 outlets with the 2 USB ports sitting there. And the same deal on the other side. We have our outlets with the 2 USB ports, each can be flipped on and off separately as well. Now, if we take a look up top, we have our light bar sitting right there. And if we turn it on here, we have a ton of light sitting up there to be able to have everything nice and clear. So as far as tools up top on the left side here, I have my Milwaukee batteries sitting over on the left and plenty of room for them too. We have some stuff hanging up on the back wall for the magnetic stripping. Over on the back wall, we have our brake grease there, along with a 3D printed Mazda RX-8, which is pretty cool. I printed that out. And we have our duck sitting there. We also have Senor Gerald, who's the box mascot, sitting there, as well as our certificate for emissions inspections. Now, it's a bit of a mess up here, but I've been looking on cleaning it for a little bit, so I'll get it done eventually. So if we go ahead and open up our first drawer here, we are greeted to a variety of tools. And right here, you can see we have the matting that I was talking about earlier, and it's removable. So you can take them out, clean them at any time, and they fit in there super nice. We also have our oil filter wrench, pliers, snippers, plastic popper. We have feeler gauges and some pens and whatever else. So opening up our second drawer here, we are greeted to some punches on the left side. Very helpful for when you snap a wheel stud on your Impala. Definitely a great thing to have. We also have some picks here for hoses by Milwaukee. Very nice to have. Absolutely a great purchase. On the right, we have a manual pump if you're removing some fluids or if you're removing gasoline, stuff like that. Definitely a cool thing to have just on the side. Moving on to our third drawer here, we are greeted with an entire workbench built in. And if we go ahead and lift it up right here, we have a bunch of more storage underneath, including a variety of Phillips and flathead screwdrivers. We also have our tire repair kit sitting here. Very helpful to have, used it multiple times. Couldn't recommend it enough. In the back here, we also have our fuses. Great help for the RX-8 or whatever else you're looking for. And we have a bunch of tire inserts here, as well as a hammer in the back. Moving over to the left side, up in the first drawer is nothing too special. We just have a bunch of used parts, and that's all that drawer is really going to be for now. And then if we look down here, we also have just newer parts. So we have wheel studs over there, we have hex nuts. Back here is actually the ignition and starter relays that you would need to use. I just bought 3 of them just in case. Here's the part number right here in case you need it. So there you go. Now this box is really cool because we have a separate lock. This is actually a personal lock box where I like to keep things like receipts, just kind of important things. I also have my OBD2 scanner sitting in there. But this is really cool to have if you just really want to lock stuff separately. You can see there I also have an oil filter on the left side. Just really anything important. Now we can finally move down to the bottom half of the box, where we open up this nice big drawer containing a lot of stuff. So over on the left here, we have our deep impact sockets, and these are very nice to have, especially when you're getting something that's really stuck on there, that you don't want to put too much force on regular sockets. These are what you're going to use. Next over here, this is the first box I ever had, like I mentioned earlier. As you can see sitting in here, we have 3 different ratchets of sizes. We also have a ton of sockets just lining this box, along with a bunch of extensions and longer sockets over on the other side, and a swivel socket. We also have 2 sets of wrenches and 2 sets of Allen keys sitting right here. We also have our screwdriver along with 4 rows of bits sitting in there as well. Very good buy, and I'm going to be using it for the future. If we come down a little bit further, we can see in this drawer is absolutely nothing. I still have to fill this one up, but we're getting there. And then right down here is still kind of empty, but this just has really like small sort of stuff as far as screwdrivers. We have an extension cord, just really random tools. We have sandpaper in there even. Down one more, we have some actually pretty cool tools sitting down here. We have a Dremel 4300, great for cutting in this stuff, especially when 3D printing, but just overall, very cool thing to have for just cutting random stuff, or sanding stuff down, wire brush, whatever you really need. This is also a really cool tool. It is a Astro pneumatic tool set, and this is used to push the pistons back in for your brake calipers. If you're doing brakes yourself, this is the tool you're going to have. I can't recommend this one enough, honestly. If we go down to the bigger drawer at the bottom, this is where I keep most of the bigger stuff. As you see, we have our impact sitting in there, as well as a drill. And we also have our angle grinder sitting right back there, as well as these like small pack out boxes that have basically all the bits you could ever need sitting inside of them. So these are definitely a really cool thing to have if you have a chance to pick them up. Coming over to the left side here, if we go ahead and open this drawer, we can see a bunch of fluids. We have Idemitsu premix sitting in there for the rotary. We have power steering fluid and just random cleaners sitting in the back there. And right underneath of it is the grail of all grails, where we have our brake clean, 4 cans of it, PB blaster, silicone spray, really whatever you need to get those stuck bolts loose, as well as cleaning your brake rotors. Under here, we just have some torches and butane for when stuff's really stuck on there. And then the final drawer, we have a welding mask in there, as well as some gloves. And we have probably my favorite thing, which is a ARC-7 RC drift car. And this I got when I first started working at Mazda. And this was a really cool thing to have just to really kill time when it was slow in the shop. And I actually ended up going and cutting out the windows sitting in here. And I replaced them with plexiglass so that you could see inside. Just a cool little mod I threw in there. But this is always a really fun thing to have just sitting around in the box. And it fits perfectly in this drawer. And down here we can see our caster wheels going across, and you can see we do have a bunch of space underneath to put a smaller toolbox, as well as a bunch of rags or whatever else you really need to go underneath there. And then on the right side, a special little feature is we have a bottle opener, so if you're cracking open a cold one with the boys, that is the tool for you. And that is my Husky Toolbox. As you can see, we have tons of storage. It's at a pretty good price point, and I'll leave it down in the description below so that you guys can check it out for yourselves and see if this is something you'd want. Now, next week, we're not going to be able to get a video out because I'm going to be actually down in Pittsburg for the next week, so no video there. Hopefully, when I come back, we can get out and work on the car again. I apologize for not being able to, but it has been storming pretty bad. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.